Welcome everyone with one more video on 150 most important questions on linguistics. The last video is presented here. Question number 126. What is syntactic function? This function defines different perspectives in the presentation of linguistic expression. What do you know about pragmatic functions? Pragmatic functions defining the informational status of constituents determined by the pragmatic context of the verbal interaction. Functional descriptions of grammar strive to explain how linguistic functions are performed in communication through the use of linguistic forms. What does the historical linguistics teach us? Historical linguists study the history of specific languages as well as general characteristics of language change. The study of language change is also referred to as diachronic linguistics, the study of how one particular language has changed over time, which can be distinguished from synchronic linguistics. What do you understand by sociolinguistics? Sociolinguistics is the study of how language is shaped by social factors. This subdiscipline focuses on the synchronic approach of linguistics and looks at how a language in general or a set of languages display variation and varieties at a given point in time. What is the role of applied linguistics? Applied linguistics takes the results of the findings of researches and applies them to other areas. Linguistic research is commonly applied to areas such as language education, lexicography, translation, language planning, which involves governmental policy implementation related to language use, and natural language processing. What do you understand by the term articulatory phonetics? Articulatory phonetics is concerned with the articulation of speech, the position, shape, and movement of articulators or speech organs such as the lips, tongue, and vocal folds. What is acoustic phonetics? Acoustic phonetics is concerned with acoustics of speech, the spectrotemporal properties of the sound waves produced by speech, such as their frequency, amplitude, and harmonic structure. Discuss briefly auditory phonetics. Auditory phonetics is concerned with speech perception, the perception, categorization, and recognition of speech sounds, and the role of auditory system and the brain in the same. What do you understand by phonetic transcription? Phonetic transcription is a system for transcribing sounds that occur in a language, whether oral or sign. The most widely known system of phonetic transcription, the International Phonetic Alphabet (IPA), provides a standardized set of symbols for oral phones. What is stop in phonetics? It is an oral occlusive where there is occlusion, blocking of the oral vocal tract and no nasal airflow, so the airflow stops completely. Examples include English, p, t, k, voiceless, and b, d, g, voiced. If the consonant is voiced, the voicing is the only sound made during occlusion. If it is voiceless, a stop is completely silent. What is nasal in phonetics? A nasal occlusive where there is occlusion of the oral tract, but air passes through the nose. The shape and position of the tongue determine the resonant cavity that gives different nasals their characteristic sounds. Examples include English, m, n. What are fricatives? Sometimes called spirant. where there is continuous friction, turbulent and noisy airflow at the place of articulation. Examples include English, voiceless, voiced, etc. Most languages have fricatives, though many have only an s. How many types of fricatives are? Sibilants are type of fricative where the airflow is guided by a groove in the tongue towards the teeth, creating a high-pitched and very distinctive sound. These by far the most common fricatives. Lateral fricatives are a rare type of fricative where the frication occurs on one or both sides of the edge of the tongue. What is a fricate? It begins like a stop, but this releases into a fricative rather than having a separate release of its own. Affricates are quite common around the world, though less common than fricatives. What is approximant? Approximant where there is very little obstruction. Examples include English "wo" and "r". In some languages, such as Spanish, there are sounds that seem to fall between fricative and approximant. What are vocal cords? Thin strips of muscle in the larynx, which can be open in voiceless sounds or close together, creating vibration in voiced sounds. What are voiceless words? When the vocal folds are spread apart, the air from the lungs passes between them unimpeded. Sounds produced in this way are described as voiceless. What are voiced words? When the vocal folds are drawn together, the air from the lungs re-pushes them apart as it passes through, creating a vibration effect. Sounds produced in this way are described as voiced. What do you understand by the term eponyms? New words based on the name of a person or a place are called eponyms. In this process, a longer word is reduced to a single syllable, then Y or JE is added to the end. This is the process that results in moving pictures, and television. What are acronyms? Acronyms are new words formed from initial letters of a set of other words. These can be forms such as CD, compact disc, or VCR, where the pronunciation consists of saying each separate letter. Which morphemes are free? Free morphemes can function independently as words. Town, dog, and can appear with other lexemes. Town hall, doghouse. What morphemes are called bound? Bound morphemes appear only as parts of words, always in conjunction with a root and sometimes with other bound morphemes. For example, an appears only accompanied by other morphemes to form a word. What morphemes are called derivational? Derivational morphemes, when combined with a root, change either semantic meaning or part of speech of the affected word. For example, in word happiness, the addition of the bound morpheme ness to the root happy changes the word from an adjective happy to a noun happiness. In the word unkind, un functions as a derivational morpheme, for it inverts the meaning of the word formed by the root kind. What are inflectional morphemes? Inflectional morphemes modify a verb's tense or a noun's number without affecting the word's meaning or class. Examples of applying inflectional morphemes to words are adding s to the root dog to form dogs and adding ed to wait to form waited. In English, there are 8 inflections. That's it for this video, and this was also the last video in connection with 150 the most important questions on linguistics. A few detailed videos on these topics are also available on this channel. I will leave the links in the description box. The rest of the topics will also be discussed in detail. Stay tuned to my channel. Thank you for watching me.